I've helped runners over 40 run faster without burning out or getting injured. I'm Dr. Ray Peralta, physical therapist and run coach. In this video, I'm going to show you exactly how to improve your lactate threshold and how to do it without wrecking your body in the process or getting these common overuse injuries that a lot of runners get when they try to push too hard, things like knee pain, shin splints, Achilles tendonitis. So while older runners feel slower and burn out, maybe you feel like your pace drops off faster than you used to, and tempo runs often feel like you're a race effort and you accumulate constant fatigue, right? You're overly fatigued. You're getting a point of overtraining, right? Now it feels like you're running on dead legs or like bricks in your leg. And you're stuck in the gray zone, right? It's too hard on easy days, too easy on hard days, right? So that gray zone where you're, okay, you think you're doing a recovery run, but you're often doing junk miles because you're either training too hard on the easy on this recovery run, or you think you're doing a speed workout, but you're actually more in the gray zone. So it's not even a quality speed workout either, right? So you want to try to avoid the gray zone. More mileage equals more pain, not more performance generating. Many people fall into the mistake. It's more days of running or more miles. They think that's the only way to play. Now, don't get me wrong. That is a method, but it's not the only method or the best method. There's actually other ways to improve your running performance, your fitness, without having to like make your whole life of running where you're running every single day of the week or you're running like 80 miles a week plus. And no structure, right? Oftentimes many recreational runners, they treat the sport like a hobby jogger. They kind of wing it. Maybe they'll follow a plan for a few weeks and they drop off. And they'll have no real structure. They're just running hard and hoping that it works. They're just hoping and praying they're just going to magically get better. Like, if I just stick with it long enough, I'll just improve. Now, again, you might make some small improvements in the very beginning as a beginner, but you're going to hit a point where you plateau, where you're not making further improvements. And this is where people get stuck at the same pace for years and years. And most runners aren't undertraining. They're just training the wrong way or not training for the way that their body recovers. They're not respecting their individual recovery abilities and the capacity to, train properly. So if you want to copy my structure plan and to learn how to run faster pain-free, I'm sharing inside my free online run group. Click the link in the description. So what lactate threshold actually is, it's how long you can hold a fast pace before your body says, slow down, buddy. It's not about suffering. It's about staying fast without blowing up. So there's actually only 3 real zones. I understand if you're using like a Garmin or Strava, what have you, they tend to break down to like 5-zone or 7-zone model. But if we look at the science, there's actually 3 real zones. Easy, it's the true aerobic zone where you're building the engine. Tempo, right? It's that controlled it's right at the lactate threshold where you're accumulating some lactate, but it's not so much that your body can still clear it. And in hardware, it's your body's producing way more lactate than you're able to clear. This is like the hard speed efforts, short efforts. As you can see in this 3 intensity zone system, right? You could see the 5-zone in the image versus the 3-zone. As you can see that the 3-zone system, that when you approach zone 3 in this 3-zone system, it's essentially you're in the red zone. You're accumulating way more lactate than you're able to clear. You'll be able to do like a short sprint, like let's say a 400-meter sprint, and then you have to like take a break because it's way beyond your body's ability to clear the lactate. You can see the corresponding heart rate zones and the lactate acid accumulation, like 2 millimolars, 4 millimolars, etc. But you don't have to do a fancy testing or anything to use this type of system. Now, if you want to use a 5-zone system, you can. Just kind of, you could see the image here, how the 5-zone system kind of correlates to this 3-zone system. Or just know what you're actually training, because you need to know what intensity or effort you're training at to get the training adaptations or what you're trying to achieve. So most runners train too close to max, right? They tend to push it closer to the red zone, that zone 3 or zone 4, 5, right? And that causes too much fatigue or injury. Or sometimes they stay in zone 3 and then never really do zone 1 and 2. They're just training zone 3, zone 4, and zone 5, and never actually doing zone 1 and 2. They think they're doing zone 1 and 2, when in reality they're actually doing zone 3. They're running too hard on their easy days, and that's going to accumulate more fatigue and increase your risk of these overuse injuries. I see it time after time when runners are training for like marathons, what have you, that they push it too much, and oftentimes they're just running too hard too often without proper recovery days. So if your tempo runs feel way too hard, like you're completely gassed, your chances are you're doing it wrong. So the 3-part lactate threshold system, right? So I recommend 80% of your effort should actually be in zone 1 or 2, zone 2, depending if you're using a 5-zone model or a 3-zone model. But essentially, easy runs or easy type of aerobic exercise should make up like 80% of your training, right? It's also known as like polarized training, right? A majority is in this zone 1 or zone 1 and 2. And it doesn't have to just be running. This is where cross-training comes in. So I'm a big fan of a 3 runs per week model, but you're like, but there's only 3 runs. How do you still get aerobic benefit? Easy. On the other non-running days, just do walking, biking, swimming, some other aerobic activities that also build up your aerobic capacity, your aerobic engine. All right, so in my three run system, it would be a one speed or tempo run, an easy run, and a long run. Both the easy and long run typically run at the easy or the zone 1, zone 2 effort. And then on the cross training days, you'd also either do them at zone 1 or 2, or have additional different workouts where you do at tempo runs or harder intensities, or tempo paces or efforts. And you could also just essentially walk every day of the week, because walking is such a low impact activity. Now, if you're a complete beginner, yes, you could just stick with walking 2 days a week. But as you get more advanced, you could obviously walk more frequently throughout the day. You even have 2-a-days. You run in the morning and maybe you have a walk in the evening, etc. And run walk if needed. There's where durability and aerobic base is built. And if walking is too easy, you could do incline walking, rucking, or there's different ways to progress walking as well. In a system which all these things in combination help build up your aerobic engine, your aerobic capacity. Now you got to raise the ceiling as well. This is where you do speed workouts. This is what things above your lactate threshold. About once a week, maybe do a 4 minute hard or 6 by 800 meter repeats, full recovery between reps. Trains your body to clear fatigue better. You become more fatigue resistant. This is where you actually start improving your speed, going to the faster paces above your lactate threshold. And then once a week, you also do tempo run. And then if you're not sure where your tempo pace is, your lactate threshold is, do a field test. Do a 30-minute time trial. Average of the last 20 minutes, your heart rate and pace to get you your lactate threshold, or would be, it's based on a field test. Now, yes, there's more accurate ways to do this. So like if you go to a lab, you play for like a blood lactate testing, where they actually test your lactate threshold, and they essentially check your max ability, and they check that out on a lab with an exercise physiologist at a university or a private setting, etc. But you don't have to go through all those fancy hoops. You could just do a time trial, like a 30-minute time trial, or alternatively, you could also do, depending how fast you run, either a 10K time trial or a 5K time trial. I'm a fan of the 10K, but I understand that some people may take them a whole hour, and that's fine too, but it should be closer to like 30 minutes. You can also do the 30-minute time trial as well. And then use this information to help program your workouts. So then okay, this is the speed or the pace or the heart rate that would be at like my tempo pace, right? Controlled tempo runs are not necessarily at race pace, right? You're not necessarily doing your tempo runs. Maybe you're only doing a fartlek type of workout where you vary the speed. They could do that as well, where you maybe start easy, then you speed up at around your tempo pace or your threshold pace, and then you slow down. You could do that. There's different types of tempo workouts, or workouts that involve your lactate threshold pace, or maybe you train at your marathon pace, but then you have certain segments at lactate threshold pace. Again, there's different ways to do these types of workouts, but in general, then 20 or 30 minute steady effort paces, or they could be like a steady state tempo run. Or another one I like is the fartlek run, where you vary the paces. You can do this about once a week. And most runners overdo this, so this is a big mistake, right? You don't be doing every single day, every run workout you do in a week to be a lactate threshold workout. So maybe just once, or if you're more advanced, maybe 2 times a week. So injury proof. All right, so to injury proof your body, I'm a big fan of strength training. Strength training improves your efficiency and protects your joints. So you can see here the many benefits of strength training, right? It improves your maximal force, explosiveness, lactate threshold, improves your neuromuscular efficiency, muscular power, running economy or efficiency. So you use less energy for the same distance, and endurance performance, right? Now this is where you start hitting PRs. Strength training is one of the most overlooked things, and even people who know about strength training don't do it properly, right? So make sure you're doing it 2 or 3 times a week, heavy lifting. And you can mix it up. There's some days you do heavy lifting, explosive lifting, even high repetition efforts, but they all should be used in combination to really build a full, robust system. I'm a big fan of full body workouts. And it doesn't even have to be too lengthy. It's single set training to allow yourself to build the capacity of your tissue and also make running easier. As you're stronger, as you physically get stronger, running becomes easier, right? If you improve your squat strength or your deadlift strength, running's going to be a lot easier, right? You're going to tissue capacity, tendons can handle load. And then you can also more easily recover between your run workouts, even your hard run workouts. And if your body can't handle the load, then your fitness doesn't matter. You'll just get hurt, right? This is where a lot of people think, I'm just going to run alone, but then they end up getting hurt as well. Are there exceptions to the rule? Yes, but oftentimes these folks are already doing some other types of strength workouts. So they're doing body weight and they don't consider it. They don't often disclose that they're doing calisthenics or some other strength workouts. So don't, get misguided by certain influencers who say, I just run alone. I do the minimals. I don't do any strength workout. And in fact, they're often doing some like calisthenics workout, like 20 or 30 minutes, right? You could also get strong with calisthenics as well, but you have to know how to progress it. Now, I'm a fan of just mixing up modalities, whether you're doing free weights, calisthenics, machines, etc., whatever. Just get in there, strength training 2 or 3 times a week, and it's going to really improve your running performance and help you stay injury-free. And so why runners stay stuck? They're running too hard too often, treating tempo like race day, skipping strength training, ignoring recovery, and chasing data without understanding it, right? Not really understanding your true zones or actually doing these tests like 30-minute time trial. So the gray zone is where progress goes to die. So case study, had a runner under 40 stuck at like a 10-minute, 10:30 pace. We switched to 3 runs per week, 2 cross training, 2 strength training, proper easy runs, structured intervals, tempo runs, speed workouts, and strength training. Her results, in like about 2 months or so, she dropped to like an 8:30 pace, less fatigue, and no injuries. So what happens when you do this right? You can hold faster pace for longer, less fatigue doing your runs when you get these lactate threshold intervals work, more consistency with training weeks, and fewer injuries. You actually improve with age instead of trying to, decline or blame, oh, I'm just getting older. So I have 2 spots open for private one-to-one coaching. If you want a personalized plan to improve your running without breaking down, click the link in the description. So in conclusion, most runners don't need more effort. They need better structure. Easy runs build you, hard runs refine you. Train the engine in the body that carries it. You don't need a lab test. You just need a system.